In the meantime, an emphatic no from Taiwan's president after China's leader called for a, quote, peaceful reunification. This comes days after Beijing sent a record number of Air Force fighter jets and bombers into Taiwan's air defense zone. General Jack Keane here on that story today. And General, nice to see you. I want to read the statement from President Xi. I think the language is very interesting. I know you pay very careful attention to this, and I'll point something out after I read it. No one should underestimate the Chinese people's staunch determination, firm will, and strong ability to defend national sovereignty and territorial integrity. The historical task of the complete reunification of the motherland must be fulfilled and will definitely be fulfilled. But what he talked about there was a peaceful reunification. How did you interpret that message?
Yeah, well, thanks, Bill. Certainly, that was the softest discussion he has had on reunification with Taiwan in some time. As we know, he gave up discussion of peaceful transition, and he has been talking about a forceful takeover and saying words to the effect, we're not going to pass this on to the next generation. In other words, I'm going to resolve this issue myself. I don't want to make too much of the fact that it was a softer in tone, because I do believe actions speak louder than words, and certainly 150 aircraft, if you noted in the introduction, over a weekend, to include a lot of that being done at night, was not only intimidation and coercion and harassment of Taiwan, to be sure, and also sending a signal to Taiwan's allies in the region that, you know, the PRC is dead serious about taking over Taiwan. But the reality is they're also practicing, Bill, and that's why they're flying at night. So I think where we are here, when we look at this situation, you know, the outgoing Indochina commander said we're getting closer to this possibly in about 6 years. I think in terms of a potential invasion and taken by force. Likely President Xi is moving that up a little bit, in my judgment. It's not imminent, because next year Olympics, next year National Party Congress, which they have every 5 years, is their big political union, and they'll certify President Xi for another term, to be sure, and likely 10 years for certain. So nothing there in terms of 22 or maybe even 23.
Kind of
but after
that,
yeah. I do think it's getting closer.
Yeah, that's what fits with what you told Dana and me last week when you were in New York. New York Post, put this up, guys. Joe Biden must stand up to China after the latest threats to Taiwan. Here's what it reads. Washington needs to help Taiwan become a nut too tough to crack, with stronger air and cyber defenses, more anti-ship missiles and mines, and supplies to withstand a blockade. Biden must stand up to a dictatorship that's intent on dominating not just an independent island, but the world. What does Beijing have to do to wake him up? I don't know how you'd answer that. Why didn't we hear about this during the Trump years? Why is it everywhere now in the headlines today?
Well, their intimidation and coercion during the Trump years was pretty significant, but Trump was the first president in some time to reach out and begin to strengthen Taiwan's defenses, and also, obviously, to counter China. No one ever really had countered China before. President Biden has come in and has taken some good steps to help strengthen it. The Quad Alliance, Japan, Australia, United States, and India, and he's met with those leaders as well. And now he's got an alliance with the UK and also with Australia in terms of nuclear submarine propulsion. But here's what I think is missing.
Please.
You know, for the last 10 years, President Xi has really gone after closing the gap that separates Hong Kong and also Taiwan from mainland China. We've seen him crush Hong Kong. We're talking about, in very specific terms in the past, about doing the very same thing with Taiwan by military force if possible. I think it's time for the Biden administration, given Xi's behavior, and given the fact that the 1979 Taiwan Relations Act said that we have a right to provide the defense for Taiwan in terms of its capability, but it left ambiguous whether we would defend it or not. I think we should remove that ambiguity because of President Xi's aggressive behavior and say unequivocally that the United States will come to the defense of Taiwan if the mainland China takes any military action whatsoever.
Well, maybe we get to that.
And let's get this ambiguity off the table.
Okay, maybe we get to that. General, thank you so much. Jack Keane, peaceful reunification from President Xi over the weekend. Thank you, sir. Nice to see you.